Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the Roseville City Council meeting of September 17th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our clerk to please read the roll. Yes.
Vice Mayor Albert?
Here.
Councilmember Haldeshelt?
Here.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Here.
Councilmember Mendonça?
Here.
And Mayor Bernasconi.
Here, thank you. This evening we have members from the Roseville High School football team. I would like to ask one of them, Kenny McClure, if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much. I'd like to ask our Assistant City Clerk if she would announce the meeting procedures.
Good evening. On behalf of the City Council, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's City Council meeting. If you haven't already picked up an agenda, they are available at the end of the staff table over here. If you wish to speak to an item not on the agenda, you may do so under public comment. Topics must be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. A total of 25 minutes is allotted for public comments, and each speaker is provided 3 minutes. As a reminder, the Brown Act does not allow the City Council to discuss or take action on items not listed on the agenda. Members of the public will have a second opportunity to provide public comments at the end of the meeting, just prior to City Council reports. For items that are on tonight's agenda, speakers will have 5 minutes to provide their comments. All comments from the public should be directed to the mayor and not to staff members or the audience. And all speakers must speak from the podium as this meeting is being recorded. Speaker time will be monitored, and when the light blinks red, please conclude your comments. The City Council encourages public participation, but requests that you refrain from cheering or jeering at comments or actions or in any other way disrupt the meeting. Persons continuing to violate these meeting procedures after being given a warning will be asked to leave the meeting. Lastly, if addressing the City Council tonight, please consider stating your name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will have our first public comment. Is there anyone tonight who would like to address any item that is not on the council? Now would be your time to come forward.
I don't know if homelessness is on the...
It's on the agenda.
No.
Anyone else? Any item that's not on the agenda? Okay, we'll close public comment. We have two presentations this evening. The first one is Find the Good Day. And is someone here for that? Oh.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the first one is called Find the Good Day, of September 18th, 2025. We're going to present it to, are you Allie?
No,
Tessa, okay. Tessa Shaver on the Advocacy Committee. So my council colleagues will start us off.
Need a little microphone there. Whereas now more than ever, the world needs optimism, positivity, and resilience. And whereas optimism has been shown to improve health, motivation, performance, and outcomes, and requires a unique kind of bravery to maintain in the face of adversity, and
Whereas it is easy to focus on the challenges we face, but what if we chose instead to focus on the good in ourselves, in our communities, and in the world around us? Would we not accelerate our collective impact and inspire others to do the same? And
whereas International Find the Good Day, created by the Junior League, is a day dedicated to doing just that, finding, celebrating, and amplifying the good around us. And
whereas on September 18, 2025, the Junior Leagues across the association will host events and initiatives that uplift their communities, support one another, and reflect on the positive change being made every day. And whereas the Junior League of Sacramento has a long-standing legacy of visionary community service and impact, which empowers philanthropic giving and civic engagement across the region.
Now, therefore, as the mayor of the city of Roseville, I do proclaim September 18th, 2025 as Find the Good Day and urge all residents to take part in this movement by finding the good in themselves and others and in their communities, and to celebrate the power of optimism and the enduring impact of positive action. We have this proclamation to present to you. Tessa, and if you wanted to say a few comments, you're welcome to.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to the city of Roseville for acknowledging this day. It is important for us to find community and help our community by finding the good in every day.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, this is fun. Okay, we have one more before us, and is John here?
That would be me.
Hi, John.
Hi there. How are you?
Great. I think we usually get this gal, right?
Well, I was here last year.
Were you?
Yeah, but yeah.
Nice
Makes
to
it
see you.
easier for her.
Okay, so this evening we are talking about Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and Councilmember Howdeshott will kick us off.
Yeah, whereas prostate cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in men and the second leading cause of cancer deaths in men, and whereas the American Cancer Society estimates there will be 313,780 new cases of prostate cancer in the U.S. in 2025, resulting in an estimated 35,770 deaths, and more than 29,600 men in California will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. And
Whereas early-stage prostate cancer usually has no symptoms and studies suggest strong familial predisposition may be responsible for 5 to 10% of the disease cases. And whereas late-stage prostate cancer commonly spreads to the bones, which can cause pain in the hips, spine, ribs, and other areas of the body. And
Whereas the 5-year survival rate reaches 100% when prostate cancer is diagnosed and treated early, but drops to 31% when it spreads to other parts of the body. And whereas the American Cancer Society recommends that men should have an opportunity to make an informed decision about whether to be tested for prostate cancer based on their personal values and preferences. And
Whereas the rapid reduction in prostate cancer mortality is attributed to early detection through PSA testing and advancement in treatment. And whereas Roseville is one of the Capital Region's healthcare centers with major hospitals and healthcare providers by Kaiser, Sutter, UC Davis, Dignity, and Adventist Health to thousands of men at risk and treated for prostate cancer. The city of Roseville joins communities across the nation to increase the awareness of the importance of early detection of prostate cancer.
Now, therefore, as the mayor of the city of Roseville, I proclaim the month of September 2025 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month and urge citizens to acquaint themselves with issues involved in prostate cancer awareness. Thank you for being here. I would imagine you have a message that you'd
You're
like to
welcome.
share.
I'd love to.
Okay, all right, the
That'd
floor
be
is yours.
wonderful.
And this is yours too.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the city council members and City of Roseville for allowing us to be up here. Again, September is Men's Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. This proclamation says a lot of things, a lot of good things in bringing awareness to men, underserved communities, underserved neighborhoods, and early detection. I am now a 17-year prostate cancer survivor. My cancer has metastasized over the last 10 years, but because of into my bones and everything else, but because of the medical wonders out there, I'm here. It was early detection also, so all these things about early detection, it's true. So on behalf of the Greater Sacramento Prostate Support Group and the Sutter Roseville Prostate Support Group, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to be here and for this proclamation and spreading the awareness of men's prostate cancer. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and being here.
You bet.
Okay, we will move into the consent calendar and ask our clerk to please review the procedures.
Good evening again. Tonight's consent calendar consists of items 3 through 13. These items are considered routine in nature and will be approved by one motion with no discussion unless a member of the council, staff, or a member of the public requests that a specific item be pulled for further discussion. I have no request from the city council or from staff, but is there anyone in the audience that wishes to pull an item 3 through 13?
This one up in the back.
Building code update.
Okay. So, go ahead and under that,
Should be
okay,
a second reading. It's item 12.
item 12, okay. Any other items that anyone wishes to pull? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar minus item 12?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Mayor Albert? Yes. Councilmember Haudashelt?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
Mayor Bernasconi?
Yes, thank you. If you want to come forward and make your comments about item 12.
Hi, Jennifer Chapman. I just think, the building code standards update should be summarized really clearly, and it seems relevant to everybody to understand what the building code changes are. So I just would ask that maybe a presentation, if this is I guess this is the first reading, but I feel like you should summarize it and make it a public presentation about what is changing in the building code. Thank you.
Mayor, it's my understanding this is a second reading?
Sorry, I made a mistake.
Says first.
I think it says
It's
first
the
on there.
first reading. I stand corrected.
Does the council have any questions? Okay. We have a motion?
Then may I have a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending Title 16 of the Roseville Municipal Code?
So moved.
Second.
Hold on just 1 second. So there's actually two action items.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry. So that's to adopt ordinance number 6990, re-adopting and amending Chapter 16.04 and 1616 of Title 16 of the Roseville Municipal Code regarding buildings and construction and the fire code, and declaring this ordinance to be effective September 17th, 2025 as an urgency ordinance, and recommending that the city council introduce for first reading an ordinance amending Title 16 of the Roseville Municipal Code, which prescribes regulations governing building standards and conditions hazardous to the life and property. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Mayor Albert?
Yes.
Councilmember Haudashelt?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
And Mayor Bernasconi?
Yes, thank you. The next item we'll move into is the council discretionary funds for the Gathering Inn.
Mayor, this item 14, is a request from the Gathering Inn for council discretionary funds to sponsor their annual Gathering for Hope event to be held on November 14th.
And just to recap, this is a request from our city council funds, which is $15,000 per fiscal year. We had a little bit of rollover from last year. The balance in that account is a little over $20,000 that we have until the end of this fiscal year to give to those who request dollars. And the request in front of us tonight is $3,000, an annual event. They usually come forward this time of year to ask for funding to support their organization.
Is there somebody here?
If I might,
Yes. Yes. Before we deliberate, let me go into public comment. Is there anyone here tonight that is here to speak to this item? Now would be your time to come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nick Galling, Executive Vice President with the Gathering Inn. I would like to thank you for your consideration of this recommendation. This gala is about celebrating the transformation of lives that takes place at TGI every day. This gala also celebrates that, like you, we recognize the inherent value and dignity of each individual that we serve. For more than 20 years, the Gathering Inn has faithfully served the most vulnerable residents of Roseville with our nomadic shelter program. This program, which requires sobriety as well as participation in case management, serves up to 65 people, men, women, and families with children, every day and every night throughout the year. Through community partnerships with the faith-based community, other nonprofit partners, a wide network of volunteers and support from the private sector, as well as many departments in the city of Roseville, we are able to pursue our mission to meet people where they are, inspire hope, and walk alongside them on their journey to sustainable housing. As a vital partner in the city's public safety and crisis response system, via the PD's Social Services Unit and the Homeless Liaison Team, we are able to help Roseville's unsheltered residents access supportive services such as shelter, comprehensive case management, a wide range of healthcare services, and we help to reduce community impacts by getting people off the street and providing safety, security, and comprehensive support in an environment where well-being is nourished. We're also proud to report that last fiscal year, 46% of our guests in the Roseville program graduated to improved housing destinations. In comparison, the latest statewide data indicates that only 1 in 4 people in California exiting shelter programs do so to a housing destination. We value not only your sponsorship, but even more, we value your involvement. We encourage you, if you'd like, to take a tour, if you'd like to serve a meal, or if you'd like to volunteer to lead a life skills class, as many other Roseville residents do. And in fact, last year, we had one of your local PD sergeants do a life skills class for our guests, and it was an absolute hit. So thank you again for your consideration and for your tireless pursuit of your mission to provide exceptional services in a fiscally responsible manner that enhance the quality of life today and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to comment on this item? Okay, I'll close public comment.
I mean, I'll just say my church, I'm glad to say, is one of the churches that participates in the nomadic shelter program. And I don't know the whole details of the program. I hope and pray that at least, that all 30 or 31 nights are covered. It's a great program. So totally support, but I know that 65 people is a lot less than the people that are unhoused in the city. And I just hope that there's also efforts to support, what other initiatives there are out there for the other folks. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the council.
I think Father Cliff was.
Hello, I'm Father Cliff Hagen-Jose. I'm the rector of St. John's Episcopal Church. I'm also vice chair of the Gathering Inn and chair of the City of Roseville Planning Commission. I'm really speaking as the rector of St. John's Episcopal Church right now. And I walked in and I heard about, I hope that there are 30, that there are enough churches to cover the nights. What I want to tell you is that we currently host regularly 2 nights a month, but I will say in the last 2 to 3 years, we've been up to about 4 nights a month because there are gaps, and we are committed to not have people on the streets as much as we possibly can. So when there's a hole in the schedule, it's usually ourselves or Shepherd of the Sea who step up to support these folks. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, close public comment and bring it back to the council for deliberations.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll start. I think we had last year, we had quite a conversation about the contribution level that we would give, and I think last year was a 20th year or 25th year of the Gala for Hope. It is not about any contribution or any decision we make about the contribution is not a decision about the mission of the Gathering Inn. It is really about the level of which we'll support. I've raised a paddle at the Gather of Hope in the past and made contributions to the Gathering Inn in the past. Having said that, I'm not supportive of $3,000. we often don't even fill a table. And we also, I think as the speakers have pointed out, we give in a variety of other ways as a city, as a community, in supporting the Gatherings Inn's mission. So I'd be supportive of something in the $1,000 range.
For your comment. Anyone else?
I guess I would have to say that I'm pretty satisfied with the $3,000 range. I think what I see with the Gathering Inn, I regularly bring clothing from not only my family but other people and help bring it down there. I've been there. I've seen what they've done for people. If you ever see how they put clothes out, it looks like you went to your regular department store with sizes and boys and girls, and you wouldn't know that you're there at a place that just, bringing clothes. It's absolutely, I won't say beautiful, but I am going to say beautiful. They do good things for people. I think I live close. I live a half mile away from the Gathering Inn, and I think when I'm looking at donating with the council, if they're whatever we give, that it's helping those people that go over there here in Roseville. And that's what I'd like to do. And I know it's not just our donations, but as Father says, there's a lot of not only churches, but a lot of people who help and who have been real supportive there for helping our community grow and being able to advance into housing and programs for them. That's my comment, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'd like to pick up on Councilmember Hauschelt's comments. I, too, have attended in the past. I've raised a paddle. My wife and I both have. And I think last year, you mentioned we didn't fill the table. Many of us were on a plane ride back from an advocacy trip in D.C., but in years past, it fluctuates. But I'm supportive of the three, not because it's what we've done in the past, but because it's more than a table. I mean, if we didn't have a presence from TGI here in our city and we didn't see the benefits of what they do, much like we vend out other things, we're not in the business of providing the services that they provide. And a lot of those people on the ground, the boots on the ground people that supply the food and the intakes and, help with the transportation to the VA and all of that, all the money this gala raises goes to that. And since they have a presence here, we see the good they do, not only in this community, but throughout the region. And I know there's been a lot of noise in neighboring cities, and that's their problem with TGI. That's not Roseville's problem. And so I don't think if any of that is influencing anyone's decision. I think we need to step back and look that this money is actually helping our residents, and we were elected to make sure that the quality of life in our city is maintained. And I think that by helping them with the money they need to provide the services that they do further underscores that. So I would be supportive of the 3,000. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments?
I do have comments, yes. I actually support what Pauline Rakucci and Councilmember Mendoza said. I think it is much more than a table. And I think that 65 people, including children, which is unique for shelter care, to be able to house 65 people and to feed them through, as we just heard, volunteers and churches stepping up to do that. And most of that is all accomplished through philanthropy. And I think that 3,000 to me is a really small investment for a really large impact for our city. So I would like to see us move forward with the $3,000.
Thank you for that. Clarification for you, Nick, if you want to come up. I know the Gathering Inn operates in other jurisdictions. Is this fundraiser in November? Is that right? Will the
Yes, November
funding?
14th.
Will the funding that the council discretionary fund provide be solely for use in your Roseville program versus programs outside of the area?
I'm sure we could earmark that without a problem. Yeah.
Okay. To me, that would make a big difference, as I would want to make sure that the funding that
That's a good point.
the city gives you stays in our city. And I know that there are overhead costs to your event, but perhaps this contribution would help to fundraise even more for that. So
Sure. And
sound.
just if I could just for a second, a picture of what that $3,000 would provide is nearly 50 nights of food, shelter, clothing, case management, therapy, access to medical services. That's close to 50 nights of service would be fully funded for an individual in our program, one of our Roseville residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we sponsor at $3,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, Vice Mayor Albert,
Yes.
Councilmember Haudashelt,
No.
Councilmember Rakucci,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendonça,
Yes.
Mayor Bernasconi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for being here. Okay, we'll move on to item 15, Westpark Community Facilities District 1 bond refunding. Our finance team here, good evening. Finance team, I should say.
Finance team,
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I'm Scott Pettengill, the Finance Director for the city, and joining me this evening is Janine Thrash, our CFD Management Analyst. And this evening, we're recommending approval of a bond refunding. In other words, a refinancing of debt for the Westpark Community Facilities District, or CFD number 1. As way of some background, the Westpark CFD number 1 was formed back on September 15, 2004, and the original 2005 and 2006 bonds were refunded back in 2015. This evening, what we're recommending is refunding those 2015 bonds. And based on current rates, we're expecting about a 6% net present value savings, or roughly $3.1 million in savings. And this refunding does not add any additional bonds, and the term will remain the same as the 2015 bonds. This particular district is comprised of 4,018 parcels, and the district will continue to be levied at the maximum special tax to pay off the developer's infrastructure reimbursement obligation. Following this bond refunding, that obligation is expected to be fully satisfied in about 5 years, rather than the original estimate of 8 years. And at that time, property owners may begin to see savings as the special tax can be reduced. The CFD is located in the northwestern portion of the city within the West Roseville specific plan, which is colored in gray in this specific plan map. We have also added a red arrow to this map to help show the location of this specific plan area. On this vicinity map, it shows the specific location of the CFD. And the shaded area you see here is the district, which is bordered by Fitiment Road off to the east. So tonight, our recommendation to council is to approve the Westpark CFD number 1 refunding, and that includes authorizing the issuance of special tax refunding bonds, approving and directing the execution of the fiscal agent agreement, approving the form of the preliminary official statement, authorizing the sale under a bond purchase agreement, and approving related documents and actions required for this transaction. So that concludes our presentation, and both Janine and I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions before I open it up to public comment?
No.
We're all good? Okay. Would anyone like to comment on this item? Now would be your time to come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the council. Unless there's any further deliberation, I think we're ready for a motion.
The motion is to adopt resolution number 25-299, authorizing the issuance of special tax refunding bonds for and on behalf of the City of Roseville, Westpark Community Facilities District Number 1, Public Facilities, approving and directing the execution of a fiscal agent agreement, approving the form of preliminary official statement, approving sale of such bonds pursuant to bond purchase agreement, and approving other related documents and actions. May I have a motion?
I'll move the approval.
Second?
Vice Mayor Albert?
Yes.
Councilmember Haudashelt?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci? Yes. Councilmember Mendonça?
Yes.
Mayor Bernasconi?
Yes, thank you. We don't have a refund very often. This is great. We'll take it.
That's nice.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move into item 16, which is the direction on city council compensation. Good evening. Now we have our city attorney team.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, members of the City Council. My name is Joe Speaker. I'm the Assistant City Attorney for the City of Roseville, and I'm before you this evening to seek direction from the City Council on proposed City Council compensation chartered language. Staff is specifically requesting direction on City Council compensation. As a reminder, future City Council action and a ballot measure requiring voter approval would be necessary to amend the Roseville Charter pertaining to council compensation. If direction is given to pursue a change to the council compensation, staff would be targeting next year's November 2026 general election. The City of Roseville is a full-service city, which means we offer our own utilities, police, fire, parks, libraries, etc., with a city manager form of government in which responsibilities are vested in the City Council and the city manager. In this form of government, the City Council's role is that of a legislative policy-making body which determines not only the local laws that regulate community life, but also determines public policy and gives direction to the city manager and city attorney. Roseville is a charter city, which means the city and the City Council derive their powers directly from the California Constitution. Roseville's 5 city council members serve the entire city through a district-based system where they're elected by districts every 4 years. And the current City of Roseville population is 158,494 people, and that's based on the most recent California Department of Finance data. The Roseville City Council is currently paid a salary of $600 a month, with the mayor receiving an additional $50 a month. These amounts were established over 25 years ago in 2000 when the population of Roseville was just under 80,000 people, which is about half of what it is now. I'm sorry for the small font on the screen, but the chart on the screen shows the historical pay for the City of Roseville City Council going back to 1934. For reference, historical census data shows that the population of Roseville in 2000 was just under 80,000 people. As stated earlier, the current population is just over 158,000. You can see from the chart that in 1974, that was the last time that the mayor's compensation was adjusted, and it has remained at $50 for the past 51 years. You can also see that starting in 1985, the compensation used to be adjusted every 5 years by the voters, with that practice apparently ending in 2000, citing to the state law limits for compensation that were then in effect. The last time compensation was adjusted was 25 years ago in 2000. In California, a city is either a charter city or a general law city. General law cities derive their powers from general laws enacted by the legislature, while charter cities derive their powers directly from the California Constitution. Roseville is a charter city, meaning its charter serves as the authority for much of its operation. City council compensation is expressly provided for in the Roseville Charter under Article 3, Section 3.05. Conversely, a general law city is bound by the California Government Code in setting up any city council compensation. So any change to the charter, including modification of city council salary, as currently written, requires a measure to be placed on the ballot and submitted to the voters for the majority approval. Roseville requires that its city charter be reviewed at least every 10 years. The City of Roseville utilizes a committee of citizens, previously called the Charter Review Commission, which are appointed by council to review the charter during multiple public meetings. Since the last compensation update in 2000, council compensation was analyzed at the 2010 and the 2020 charter reviews. The last Charter Review Commission was in 2020, and they recommended that the City Council place a ballot on the 2020 general election to increase the council compensation based on a very specific methodology, which I'll get into in a second. The then City Council decided not to place the measure on the 2020 general election ballot, citing it was not the right time fiscally, but they did direct staff to return in the future to revisit council compensation. Thanks. So, as I stated, back at the 2020 Charter Review, the then Charter Review Commission recommended the following calculation to increase council compensation. They had recommended a stipend of 15 cents per Roseville resident per year, or the average per capita salary with benefits of council members in Rockland, Lincoln, Citrus Heights, Folsom, and Elk Grove, whichever is lower. And while this isn't binding on the council, I just thought it was helpful to see that modernly this amount would equate to $1,981 per month under the 15 cents population model based on a population of 158,494, or it would be $1,992 per month based on a current average of benchmark cities. So just over 1,900 and just under 2,000 based on that methodology. Roseville Charter, Section 3.05 is provided on the screen. As it's currently written, Section A sets the exact salary amounts and ties it to a population-based model. This was a partial motivation for the Charter Review Commission's population-based compensation methodology. Section B allows for reimbursement of necessary expenses. And you'll note that the population limits in the charter were last addressed in 2000, and 75,000 was used as the maximum population threshold. Roseville's current population more than doubles that at the 158,000 people. Earlier, I explained that the difference between a charter city like Roseville and a general law city, those general law cities must follow Government Code Section 36516 and its limits in setting city council salaries. Part of the reason this item is before you this evening is because the state of California passed Senate Bill 329, which amends Section 36516 of the Government Code, allowing for the first city council member pay cap increase for general law cities in nearly 4 decades. This new law went into place on January 1st, 2024. SB 329 does not apply to charter cities like Roseville, but historically, Roseville has looked at the limits in state law for general law cities in setting its city council compensation. As of January 1st, 2024, the new salary amounts for general law cities are as follows on the screen. And you can see that under the population thresholds for Roseville, so that's the roughly 151 to 250,000 in population, if Roseville was a general law city, council compensation could be up to $2,550 a month. State law says that the population is determined by the last preceding federal census or a subsequent census or an estimate validated by the Department of Finance. And that current City of Roseville population that I've been saying, that $158,000 number, is based on the most recent California Department of Finance information. State law allows for annual adjustment of council salary. New state law says that the salary amounts may be increased annually by the greater of up to 5% for each calendar year since the last increase, or an amount equal to inflation since January 1st, 2024, based on the California Consumer Price Index, up to no more than 10% for each calendar year. So I'll refer to this as an inflator throughout the presentation just for ease of reference. State law also provides that if city council salaries are adjusted, such change in compensation does not apply to a council member during his or her term of office. However, that prohibition does not prevent adjustment of all members of the council serving staggered terms whenever one or more member becomes eligible. So, stated in a different way, when one or more council members begins a new term of office, the new salary may be applied to the whole of the city council. And again, I'm sorry for the small font. I was trying to get it all onto one slide. But the slide before you ranks from highest paid to lowest paid, several jurisdictions analyzed, and provides population sizes. The same chart was provided as Exhibit A to the staff report for tonight. The column on the right indicates if they're a charter city or a charter county, marked with a C. All others are general law cities. The green shading indicates that this jurisdiction is a benchmark city utilized when the City of Roseville conducts its labor market studies for establishing compensation for City of Roseville employees. Additionally, full-service cities like Roseville are rare in California, but we analyzed the few other Northern California full-service cities, which include Palo Alto and Santa Clara. We also analyzed Lodi and Redding, which are not technically full-service cities, but they do have their own electric utilities, much like Roseville. The data shows Roseville ranked 18th lowest paid out of the 20 jurisdictions for city council salaries. And I want to note that this chart does not take into account benefits like health insurance, et cetera, which some other cities offer. It looks at straight salary, as Roseville City Council members do not receive city-contributed benefits like medical, dental, vision, or other city-matched deferred compensation. As many here will remember, over a year ago at the City Council Strategic Planning Workshop on February 28, 2024, there was a request by council for staff to come back to a city council meeting with detailed data from other jurisdictions related to council compensation. Staff returned at the March 20th, 2024 city council meeting and made that requested presentation. Specifically, at the March 20th, 2024 City Council meeting, staff presented the recent changes in state law related to maximum compensation for council members in general law cities. Based on this change in the law related to general law cities, staff sought direction from City Council with regard to whether Council wanted to place a charter amendment on the ballot for the 2024 general election to ask the voters to adjust council compensation, and if so, what they wanted that amendment to look like. After a robust discussion and details on council compensation from various other agencies in the region and around the state, including full-service cities, Council directed staff to come back with proposed charter language that accomplished the things listed on the screen. Specifically, they asked for the proposed amendment to default to the maximum limits under state law for a general law city of similar population size, which is 2,550, provide for an automatic inflationary adjustment each year, allow the compensation to be adjusted in the future through an ordinance amendment requiring at least 2 public meetings rather than a charter amendment, had the new compensation amount be effective immediately upon voter approval and for future changes upon ordinance adoption. Council expressly determined that they did not want the amendment to include different compensation for the mayor or to include other benefits for the council members, like medical, dental, etc. Staff returned at the June 5th, 2024 City Council meeting with the requested charter language that incorporated the comments from the March 20th, 2024 City Council meeting. Staff provided several draft language options, with 2 options ultimately rising to the top of the discussion. Option 1 mirrored what was requested at the March 20th, 2024 meeting, and Option 2 defaulted to our existing charter language and structure, but with updated amounts. Neither option included additional compensation for the mayor or benefits for the council, like the medical, dental, etc. Ultimately, the majority of City Council members decided an increase in compensation was needed, though there was a split between Option 1 and Option 2, but a majority felt that it was not the right time back in June of 2024 for the increase. This majority cited the pending Placer County transportation sales tax measure that was slated for that November 2024 ballot, the 2024 presidential election, and the then short time frame to meet the 2024 ballot deadlines. The majority of the council requested staff revisit this issue in the future, with some asking for this to be revisited before the November 2026 general election ballot. Based on that feedback, staff has returned tonight to review the previous charter amendment, options 1 and 2 from June of 2024, to determine if council would like to proceed with either of those or pursue new language. So option 1 consists of draft language that defaulted to the maximum limits under state law for general law cities of similar population size, provided for an automatic inflationary adjustment each year, allowed the compensation to be adjusted in the future through an ordinance amendment requiring at least 2 public meetings rather than through a charter amendment going to the voters, and language that would have the new compensation amount be effective immediately upon voter approval and for future changes upon ordinance adoption. And before you is sample option 1 charter language. I'll give you just a second. I know there's a lot of words. I'll give the council and public an opportunity to read that. Yeah. And as you read that, you can see that the language defaulted heavily to state law for the limits and for the inflationary adjustment. So moving on to option 2, that language consisted of draft language that incorporates our existing charter language and structure, but with updated population numbers and compensation amounts to be selected by the council. This option did not have an automatic inflator, but it could if the council wanted, and would require any future increases to go to the voters for a charter amendment. And so before you now is that sample option 2 charter language. It's the same thing. I know there's a lot of words. I'll give everyone an opportunity to read through that. And then as you're reading that, you can see that this draft language follows the format of our existing charter language, but updates the population amounts to reflect current population. And this draft on the screen accounts for any dip in population. There was a slightly different version in the staff report. The only thing that's different in this is the population numbers to account for a potential dip in population, which is unlikely, but it's a scenario that would be prudent to account for. So the highlighted section would be updated to whatever dollar amount that the city council felt was appropriate. So staff requests City Council provide direction on any final proposed charter amendment language. And I figured we could have a discussion kind of about all these different options. And it's a little bit of a we talked about this before, a little bit of choose your own adventure. So that I put forward the language which was most popular last time we met, but there's obviously a lot of customization if there's a discussion the council wants to have. And so with that, I'm available for any questions and to have that discussion with the council.
Thank you, Joe. So what you're looking for from us tonight is direction. Do you want us to be as specific to, say, option 1 or number 2? You're looking for an
Yeah.
either or?
Yeah.
And the recap is the option 1 is the state language set with an adjustment for inflation based upon a formula set forward by the state. The second option is a set amount with no recommendation for inflation.
Yes, as worded there.
As worded, but we
Yes.
could say, play around a little bit. Like
Yeah.
for option 2, we could say a set amount with inflationary. Okay. Okay, so does the council have any questions for Joe before I move it on to public comment?
I do have one. You've given us some sample ballot language. That would be accompanied by an impartial analysis of that, which may go into more specificity.
Of course.
Like in option 1, it doesn't really spell out what the compensation would be, but in the non-italicized stuff, it does. So that would be in the impartial analysis.
Yeah, exactly right. So what I put forward is the literal charter language, which would be what would be voted on. But obviously, with any measure, there would be that impartial city attorney analysis. Then there's also, depending on advocates for, advocates against, there's the opportunity to tell. And so that's where the more detailed discussion about what it is doing goes into. But what we're talking about tonight is primarily the language itself that would be the charter amendment.
Oh, and just make sure I heard, the city attorney would write that impartial analysis, and at the county, who writes the impartial analysis?
So it's county council who handles it at the county level. The city attorney handles it for all measures at the city. That's not just unique to the charter. That's how the elections are run.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Go ahead.
I did have a clarification, because there were 2 options there, but I also thought on one slide it said, or is there additional discussion, like changes? This
Yeah.
would be the opportunity to infuse any different discussion or changes.
Exactly right. And so I tried to I know it can be overwhelming because there's so many options. So kind of based on the prior discussions, I tried to kind of give at least a menu of options based on prior discussions. I recognize it's been over a year since then. We have new council members since then. So there might be that desire to have greater discussion, but I wanted to at least put forward 2 options that you could kind of use as a base to plug away at if there was changes things you wanted that you didn't like on it. But I also tried to put forward the options that seemed to be the most popular based on the last discussion.
Okay.
And to recap, this comes from general fund.
Yes.
This would be potentially on the November 26 election, and it
correct.
would take effect in January 2027?
Yes.
Is that how it works?
When the next term of office began for theirs, so this year we'll have 2 open seats, or 2 seats up for running this year, and so as soon as that new member, one of those 2 takes office, that's when it would be effective.
And what would it need to pass by for voters?
It would be a majority.
Okay, so 50 plus 1.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, anything else before I open up for public comment? All right, I do have one speaker card, Bonnie Gore, to speak to item 16, and then if anyone else has a comment, you can come up after. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Bernasconi and council members. I saw this on the agenda, and since I was here, I thought I would speak to it. I'm really pleased that you're talking about this. It was unfortunate that the timing was inappropriate to bring a ballot measure before the voters back in 2020. But I think so many people don't understand how much work this council does day in and day out. It's not just 2 meetings a month. It is regional boards and joint powers authorities and task forces and ad hoc committees, and I would gather you probably spend between 10 and 20 hours a week or more, depending on the week, on your council duties. And I think it's really appropriate that your salaries are increased, and I think it's very appropriate that it goes to the voters to ask for that. It's too bad that you have to do that, but it makes sense. It's a charter city. And I have no preference on which way you all decide to do this. I think it would be important to have some type of inflationary measure because the city continues to grow, and the amount of knowledge that you all have to have as you address issues like sewer and trash and electric rates. You have to really know a lot about a number of things, and so I'm just very supportive of this effort, and I appreciate you taking the time to bring it before the voters when the time is right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment on this item? Please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Schwegel with Mang Incorporated Consulting Engineers. I am a licensed professional engineer in the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, and I have 3 comments. Comment number 1, I support the higher numbers of the options because you have done a phenomenal job. Item number 2, congratulations on being identified as the best city in California for quality of life. That is a huge accomplishment. The last I checked, there were over 500 cities in California, and you are number 1. And this means the world to me because I grew up in Granite Bay next door, and people ask me, so how do you feel about Roseville's distinction? I said, well, it's like having a tomboy next door. Next thing you know, she's Miss America. I love it. Third, city in the state of Washington called Bellevue. Not sure if you've heard of it. Bellevue has a population that is similar to that of Roseville, and I encourage you to pull up the compensation numbers for the city of Bellevue, Washington. Bellevue, Washington has the most expensive downtown area cost of living in the nation. The downtown area has quadrupled since 2004. And I understand now that Amazon is building 40-story high-rises in Bellevue. It may be worth a sister city designation between Roseville, California, and Bellevue, Washington, given your similar population sizes, as you want to make Roseville a much more rich technology hub. And Bellevue has definitely blazed a lot of trails in that regard. And Roseville can offer Bellevue, Washington, some ideas on preserving a more rural lifestyle with equestrian facilities, a lot of which we see next door in Granite Bay. So I support that. Keep up the great work. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Father Cliff Hagen-Jost, and I'm here in front of you as a private citizen of the city of Roseville. The other titles, they're there. But what I want to say is I've been honored. You have appointed me twice to terms on the Planning Commission, and as a result of my interactions on that commission as well as other civic matters, I have a deep understanding of how hard you work. I have a deep understanding of the sacrifices that all of you make to make this city a better place. And so I fully support the effort of getting you the compensation that you deserve, that probably will not even be enough for the effort that you put in. None of you do this for the money. I understand that. But as Ms. Gore said, I also encourage you to, whichever option you do, to include the inflationary kicker in there. Be fair to yourselves. You deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the council for deliberation. Does anyone want to start us off? Or are we?
Do you want me to start this then?
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Just a few things. Thank you for all the information. I mean, because you looked at all the different things. I think the important thing to me is that we're a charter city, and we've done well with being a charter city. And I think, and it's good that we looked at different salaries that are all over California here and close to us, and just to give us an idea. But I feel that when we as a charter city, we always like to be, we complain sometimes when we get told at a state or a federal level, we have to do this, or this is, what you have to do. And I think it'd be kind of fun fun and the right way to go is to pick our own number of what we want for a salary. And also, I agree. I think it's time. It's been many, many years, but I really do like the idea that being a charter city, one of the things that we have is that the community can see how much we make, and in 10 years with charter review, and if they chose to see what an amount of money that we might want to add or change in 10 years, I think that's really the way to go. I'm not too excited about the inflationary component of it. I think one of the things that being a charter city is that people are closer to council and people, and I think this gives them an opportunity of seeing how it's run and making a decision. I think if it's just thrown in, there isn't any chance for to make any real comment. And that's not saying that, if they did charter review, you'd never get it. I think you would get it, and because I think we would keep up to it a lot more than we have. I think you would see, what salary we're picking now, and that we're not. Well, we haven't had the discussion, but we haven't in the past picked any other, no medical benefits, none of that other stuff. It's just it's salary, period. But looking at the two items that we have, for me, I would say item number this, the opportunity of A or one or two, is closer to what I feel we are as a charter city, and I'm all for, like I said, a raise in the salary because it's been such a long time. But we need to keep the community involved.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
You don't? I do have some comments. I was just waiting. I'm the new one on the council, so I wasn't here in the prior discussions, although watched, as you all deliberated. And I think the public comments actually just resonated to me, and I don't think it's really about being fair even to ourselves, because most of the council members will either not benefit or won't really benefit for long. I think what 25 years of no increase has done is really shown that the current system doesn't work very well to keep pace with the growth of the city and the demands and the needs of the job. And I think it potentially limits, all of us took the job for the current pay. And I think it limits some really good candidates potentially from stepping up and being able to make that financial sacrifice to do the job. So this is enough to help get good candidates, to run for office and to be able to make that sacrifice. I think that we owe it not just to, it's not about the current council, but it's really about what's best for the city and I think the future of our council as we grow. Given the two options, and I should have started with thank you, because you made it very clear, so I appreciated all the data. It's nice to make data-driven decisions, right? I think that going back to the voters for escalators, inflators doesn't make sense. I think it's more common to, have some kind of CPI put in. It takes it out of, this or future councils having to, take something back to the charter review or the voters. So it seems very reasonable to me to go with the option of having an inflator.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment?
Yeah, sure. I want to make sure that Councilmember Mendoza didn't have any.
I'll chime in after you. We're already down that side.
Well, I think the idea is we all want to share our opinion, but can we give,
I don't have
in the interest of
anything
time,
that-
can we give our legal team direction?
Yeah. So, like the workforce today, I got a hybrid here, right? So I like two for a lot of reasons. Primarily, the language in it says the amount which shall be no more than the amounts determined. So it lets the public know it's a cap. And I think that's really important. I'm
Can we
supportive
put option
of.
2 up on the screen, please?
I'm supportive of the inflator because, as you pointed out,
That's slide 20, if you don't mind putting that up, sorry.
had the inflationary percentage been there, the council compensation it's been, what did you say, 20, 25 years since council compensation has changed. So that inflator, sometimes it's 1%, sometimes it's 4%. In outlying years, it's
It's the next slide.
abnormal. So I like, I like those two elements of a charter amendment that would come before us or go before the voters. And I think what, like Vice Mayor Albert said, and Supervisor Gore said, what you're really, each of us have served for nothing on, where's Father Cliff, on planning commissions and other things, because we've developed a body of knowledge, we've developed an understanding of how the city works, we've developed an understanding of our staff and the bench of our staff. So we're bringing to the position, should you be elected to the city council, a wealth of knowledge that you will put in place. And then you're going to juggle. The mayor has a business. I have a full-time job. You have a full-time job.
Yeah.
You have a full-time job. Richard's a full-time job, I think. Okay.
I did up until a
All right.
couple years ago.
Anyway, that's my sense of humor. But I do think, you're asking people who will serve to make sacrifices in their life, to look at staff reports at maybe 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. In the morning, make sure that they're communicating with our staff. And so it's very much warranted. So I hope you got something out of that. I'm really kind of a hybrid because if I understood you correctly, either one or two would go in, if the voters approve it, would be effective in January of 2027. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Anything else to add?
See option
Yes,
for
let's
one
go
just
to,
on the
let's go
screen.
to sample option 1, charter language, and just for my input, and that sounds like maybe we don't have a majority tonight, but, we have batted this around for years.
We don't have a majority?
Well, I'm going to say my comments, which kind of differ from yours. So we've batted this around for years. We know that really it's a losing financial proposition for all of us to do, but we want to do this job because we care about our future and the city. I like sample 1 because it takes our discretionary out of it, of option 2 of picking a number. So this option 1 is really set forward by the state based on the formula and includes an adjustment for inflation. And I agree, I think in this day, we expect to have some sort of inflationary numbers, and it would alleviate us being in this same, the future councils being in the same position again. We've talked about this for so long because none of us want to really increase our own pay. Now the voters will make a decision on that. I say that I don't know if we're in majority because I would prefer sample option 1 that has the formula that's included from the state with an inflationary number, and then we kind of set it and forget it. So,
Mayor, if I might, is there any way we might be able to take a straw poll, just see if we have one way or the other on 1 or 2? Before
And
we give
I
direction?
think
I'm sorry,
I need
Vice Mayor.
clarification on 1, like what that number is, because the other
Yeah.
one was more clear to me.
Yeah, so based on our current population of over 150,000, option 1 would default to the state law number, which is $2,550 a month. If our population was to exceed 250,000, then that number goes over 3,000. The total number was in the slide that I had provided just before.
Okay, that's what I
But that's
thought.
the general ballpark for it.
So how is that different from 2? Is that we would set a number?
You would set a number. So 2, you could pick the same number. 2, you could pick a different number. So 2, you have the ability to set the number, and you can make that number whatever you want, whereas 1, the number is set in state law. And if the last time they did an update was 40 years ago, but if in another 5 years or 30 years or 40 years they update it, then that number would automatically take effect.
Okay, and if we go with inflator, ours is adjusting along the way
That's correct.
anyway, so it's kind of set in today's market and it keeps it current.
That's correct.
Based on today's market.
anyone else? So I'm not really good at the numbers, but do you feel like you have, I don't know that we really have a consensus.
Yeah, I mean, I like the suggestion if the council's willing of maybe just kind of a thumbs up for 1 versus 2 as a starting point, right? And if there's a leaning, a majority towards 1 or 2, then we could kind of work off of either 1 or 2. But I do think you kind of need to, as a foundation, figure out if you're in the option 1 camp or the option 2 camp as kind of a starting point for that discussion. So
And
that's what my suggestion would be.
It sounds like we're at consensus for an adjuster, is from what, well, I heard from us, these
4 of 5
three.
for that, yeah.
Majority, you guys, 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. So.
Could I
were
add
there-
something? There's
Yes.
one big difference between option 1 or 2, maybe that we haven't really
Yeah.
highlighted. Option 2 would require any changes to that in the future will need voter approval. Option 1.
Except for the automatic, if there's an
For
automatic.
the
inflator.
automatic inflator. Option 1 allows you to set it by ordinance
Yes, without needing to go back in the
without needing to
future.
go back to the charter.
You could remove that from option 1, but as option 1 is worded now, that was the direction in March, and that's what that option 1 was based off of.
Okay.
That's an important clarification. I just point out as the chart, very small print, $2,550 a month works out to $30,000 a year. That's not very much. So I would move that the council place option 1 before the voters in November of 2026.
With the, as worded with the.
Are we changing the verbiage or keeping it as written?
And are you looking for a motion, or
We're
are
not
you
looking
looking
for a
for?
motion.
We're just
Promotion, yeah.
looking for.
We're doing thumbs up, thumbs
direction.
down.
And then you come back with further clarification for us.
I'd move the straw poll be considered on option 1 with the inflator, which is in there, right? And a
Yeah.
cap.
Okay. So we just
And-
do,
Are we saying yes or no?
Are we at 1 or 2?
Are you getting a
We're at
thumbs up
1.
and down?
we're at 1 now?
1.
Are we on?
We're doing 1?
We're doing 1.
I'm okay with, oh, yeah, 1.
All right.
So it sounds like option 1.
Let's work on
It's
number
kind of the
1.
baseline to start off of. And so as it's worded now, option 1 defaults to the limits in state law, which is, like I said, the 2,550. Option 1 has the automatic inflator, which defaults to the state law. You could keep it that. You could also set your own inflator. You could also, for help on this, if you don't mind going to slide, it's marked 25 in the bottom right-hand corner, slide 25. This is a slide I put together with possible inflator language. So you could, what's in option 1 right now is that top bullet point. But if you actually look at California Government Code section 36516, it has these 2 bottom bullet points in it. So you could also just pick one of the 2 bottom bullet points. And then I highlighted the numbers because you could also pick whatever number you want for that. So you could default to the number that's in the government code, that bullet point 1.
5%.
Or you could pick
This one is,
the
that's
2
bad, too high.
as is, adjust. Again, you have a lot of flexibility.
And what was with the first bullet?
The first bullet, that language, so if you go to the next slide, this is what Government Code 36516 says. So it has that language that I just included with those 2 bottom bullets. And so it automatically says this. You basically pick A or B. And then we could just default to picking A or B, or you could just right now pick A or B.
I like just kind of take us out of it and go to the state or the CPI so that we're not picking a number, but the number's really picked for us based on what's going on in the world. That's how I feel.
And if we go with that route, is that ordinance, or does that go back to the voters?
So as option 1 is worded right now, it's ordinance, and it'll go to the voters initially, but then it won't after that.
After the voters pass it initially, then it's ordinance after that?
Exactly.
Okay, and that's 1, okay.
That's 1. And you can change that, but that's how 1 is worded right now.
Thank you.
And if it were to ever be changed in the future, hypothetically, it would be through probably charter commission, maybe recommendation, or a future council would vote to change it.
So, exactly. And so a future council could change it, and it requires 2 public hearing or 2 public meetings, but it would be done via ordinance.
And why I advocated for option 1 is, Michelle, thank you for bringing that up, because the reason why we couldn't take action without the vote of the people is because we had a specific number in our charter.
Yeah.
So we couldn't automatically default to what the assembly or the legislature did because we had a specific number. So that's why I pivoted from my very convoluted hybrid to just plain and simple option one.
Okay, are you good? Do you feel like you
Yeah, I
have
think
the
I have the
direction you
direction I need. So I hear option one, as worded on that slide, is what the consensus is to move forward with.
Okay, and when do you think you'll be back, or is there a time frame for
So-
getting it on the?
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for this discussion. So again, we would be targeting the November 2026 general election. So we have to, before that election, call for the election, which happens usually like in May timeframe. But I suspect we would be back well in advance of that with language for you to look at, so that when we come back at that May timeframe, it's a done deal at that point in time. So that would be, and I think that would probably align with the clerk's office's schedule as well. So it would be probably early next year at the timeframe, realistically.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to item 17. It's just the pro-housing designation draft application renewal.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, members of the City Council. I'm Greg Bitter, Planning Manager with your Development Services Department, and I'm here tonight with Lauren Hawker, our Senior Planner in the Planning Division. We're getting ready to resubmit an application to renew our pro-housing designation with the State of California's Housing and Community Development Department. And one of the requirements for resubmitting this application is to have a workshop/public hearing before the City Council. So that's what we're here for, and I'm going to turn it over to Lauren to provide the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Oh, can we go back to the initial slide? I know. Before we get into the next bits, I just want to go over what we're doing tonight. It's a short presentation. This is in public comments on our application. I'm going to be going over what pro-housing designation is, why it's important, explain the application a little bit, and then talk about next steps. So we can go ahead and move on. So what is pro-housing? The pro-housing designation program was established in 2021, and basically what it comes down to is, as we all know, over the last 10 years, the state has passed an increasing number of bits of legislation that are full of sticks for jurisdictions not performing, but very few carrots. This is a carrot approach. This is actually an incentive program for jurisdictions that are doing well in the housing production space instead of just sticks for folks not doing well in that space. So the city was one of the first 10 jurisdictions in the state to receive pro-housing designation back in 2022. It's good for 3 years. It's expiring at the end of this year. So we're looking to apply for renewal. We've published, currently we're in the middle of the comment period for our draft application. That comment period closes on September 29th, and the application is available for review at the website on the screen, and it's also available in hard copy here in this building at the Permit Center and at the city's libraries. Next slide. So why apply for this? So like I said, it's an incentive program. So you get, if you have pro-housing designation, you get additional points on applications for obviously affordable housing, but also for improvements to water lines, sewer lines, and other infrastructure, for transit funding, for congestion reduction, and safety improvements. And this is really important because the city is often competing in these statewide grants with really large jurisdictions that have bigger or flashier projects that it can be hard to compete with. And so getting extra points for something like this can make a really big difference to us. During this 3-year cycle of having pro-housing designation, we did get awarded $1.6 million through the PIP program, which is the Pro-Housing Incentive Program funding, and only pro-housing jurisdictions are eligible for that particular grant funding. Next slide. So this is where I want to take a moment to go over sort of the key points of the application, because we've gotten some comments in, and most of them are just asking for clarifications about the application itself. They aren't questions about actually policies that we're looking to get scored on our scorecard. It's just not the clearest application to parse for people. So FYI, we did post sort of an explainer on the webpage for the project this week. I have hard copies here if anybody in the audience would like one of those. That goes over each section of the application. For this workshop, I'm just going to focus on two things, the scoring criteria and our score sheet, because that's where we've gotten the most sort of questions and confusion. So the scoring criteria in the application begin on page 7 of the PDF. This is just the list of criteria for which an application could apply, right? We could score points in all of those categories. Not every category is going to be scored by an applicant. We're not all going, and that's true of the city as well. On this screen, for this first category on this first page of the scoring criteria, the highlighted one is the only one we have scored in for our application. We haven't scored in any of the rest of those. And I'm emphasizing this because people are reading these scoring criteria as requirements of the program. They are not. So for instance, one of those is increasing the allowable density in low-density, single-family residential areas beyond the requirements of state law. We aren't scoring in that category. We don't have any policies or programs that could be scored in that category. So people are reading that and getting concerned about that. So I just wanted to highlight that our score sheet is Appendix 3, beginning on PDF page 18. And I know it's counterintuitive that the meat of the application is in Appendix 3, but that is the format and structure of the application that we have to follow. So that's why I'm sort of highlighting that here. For anyone reviewing this, our scorecard is Appendix 3, beginning on page 18, and that's where you would look for the sort of meat of the application. The other thing I want to highlight is that the city is applying based on existing policies and programs. There is nothing new here that we are proposing. All of the policies and programs in our application are things that have been in effect for years. So no new policies and programs are proposed. In fact, every single policy and program in our application this time was in our application last time. So what happens next? We incorporate any kind of comments we receive as appropriate, and then any revisions get published for a 7-day comment period. We will be publishing revisions probably in early October, because during this time frame, we also submitted informally to Housing and Community Development to make sure that we had everything we needed to have. We got a few comments back on that. So after that happens and our application is ready to go, we come back to City Council to request that you adopt a resolution authorizing us to formally apply to HCD, the Housing and Community Development Department. So that's it for my presentation, leaving the remainder of our time for any questions or comments there may be from either you or the audience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren. Very informational. And this was very helpful to us a few years ago, too. Any questions of the council before I open it up to public comment? Not right now? Okay.
I do. Lauren, who comments on these things?
Anybody can comment on this. So we have
State, local agencies,
Yeah.
general
anybody.
public.
So when we emailed, when we published this, we published through a variety of methods. But one of the things we did was we emailed to the Housing Element listserv. So everybody who signed up for Housing Element information got this. So that includes housing advocacy groups, agencies, lots of folks.
Approximately how many comments were received on the initial application years ago?
None, because there was no public outreach required for the initial application. It was an
Sorry, I missed that
over-the-counter
in your
process with
presentation.
HCD.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone like to publicly comment on this item? Now would be your time. Seeing none, you guys are doing a really good job hanging in there. We got lots of students. Okay, I'll close public comment. Bring it back to the council. Any further deliberation? Okay, is this an action item?
Nope, it's just an
Okay,
informational item.
great.
We're asking for no action from you.
Wonderful, and you'll keep us posted, I know,
Yep.
on how it goes. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both. Great job, Greg. All right, next up, we have item 18, City of Roseville Homeless Strategy and Response Plan. And we have our economic development team here to provide us with a presentation. And before you all start, I just want to say that we have a handful of yellow cards. I'm sure there might be other people in the audience who would like to speak. We will devote 30 minutes to public comment. So typically you're allowed 5 minutes. If we allow 5 minutes for everybody, we won't get through everybody. And I do want to make sure that we hear from everyone. So if you're planning to speak, please prepare your comments so that we can get through everybody. So I would just use a few minutes of your time. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, members of the City Council. I'm Melissa Anguiano, the city's Economic Development Director, and I'm joined tonight by Rob Becerra, the city's Government and Community Relations Manager. And we are here to present a homeless strategy and response plan and resolution affirming the city's approach to homelessness for your consideration. The City of Roseville takes a comprehensive and compassionate approach to preventing and addressing homelessness in our community. With changes in state law increasing service demands, uncertainties around federal funding, and the potential reduction of federal funding, now is the time for the city to solidify its proactive efforts. Primarily, the strategy before you outlines how the city manages and mitigates the impacts of homelessness within our community while connecting individuals and families to housing, services, and long-term solutions. This plan strengthens the city's ability to respond effectively when changes do occur and competing priorities arise, overall making us better prepared and positioned to adapt to these changes. Before we go over the components of this strategic plan, I'm going to give a little bit of an update on this year's point-in-time count. Each year, we partner with Placer County Continuum of Care to survey homeless individuals, resulting in a point-in-time count for our city. While the results are not absolute, as people move in and out of Roseville and homelessness throughout the year, the point-in-time count is a snapshot reflecting people experiencing homelessness the night of the count. Residents counted include individuals and/or families who are sheltered and unsheltered. People residing in shelters as well as transitional housing, also referred to as temporary or bridge housing, are considered sheltered, while people who are residing in locations not meant for human habitation, such as tents or vehicles, are considered unsheltered. This year's point-in-time count for Roseville included 260 persons, with 27% or 70 persons sheltered and 73 or 190 persons unsheltered. While the number of people experiencing homeless in Roseville has fluctuated the last several years, the overall number has decreased since 2022, when our count was 323 persons. Additionally, in comparison to the city's overall population growth since 2020, the number of people experiencing homelessness in Roseville as a percentage of our population has remained relatively low. On average, since 2020, the city's population has grown by almost 2%, with Roseville's point-in-time count representing on average approximately 0.16% of our city's population.
One of the documents before you tonight is the city's Homeless Strategy and Response Plan, and is dedicated to addressing homelessness across all stages of the housing continuum, with a focus on sustainable solutions that optimize resources and enhance community well-being. This homelessness response framework provides a high-level overview of Roseville's core strategies, guiding principles, and interdepartmental and regional coordination efforts to address and prevent homelessness with clarity and consistency, while emphasizing approaches we support and should prioritize to assist those at risk of and/or experiencing homelessness. Roseville's strategic response to homelessness is built on a multifaceted, coordinated strategy organized around 8 overarching pillars. These pillars not only guide the city's day-to-day work and long-term planning, but also reflect the extensive efforts already being carried out by city staff. I will briefly provide context for each of the 8 pillars, highlighting both the ongoing work and the direction it provides for the future. Under prevention and stability, Our goal is to intervene before homelessness occurs by supporting individuals and families at risk. We do this through maintaining rental assistance programs, providing tenant protections and mediation services, offering financial literacy and employment training, and the Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, including emergency housing support. Access to support services is to ensure people have access to the services that promote housing stability and wellness. This includes providing rapid rehousing and hotel voucher programs through HPRR, supporting community development block grant programs, CDBG, for housing and community development, and coordinating with county partners for mental health, addiction, recovery, and healthcare access. Transitional housing is aimed at expanding transitional options that support individuals on their path to permanent housing, including increasing transitional housing programs with job training and mental health services, maintaining partnerships with local hotels for interim housing, prioritizing funding to support the creation of transitional housing units. Expanding the availability of affordable housing supply is critical in our approach. We do this by dispersing and applying for additional housing choice vouchers, maintaining the city's 10% affordable housing goal for new developments, supporting tax credits and subsidy-based affordable housing projects, streamlining the development process to encourage affordable construction, as shared in the Prohousing designation presentation tonight. Community partnerships are imperative to the work we do, leveraging cross-sector collaboration to expand resources and service delivery. We do this by collaborating with nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and healthcare providers, engaging local residents and volunteers in outreach and education efforts, increasing public-private partnerships to sustain programs and enhance impact, and coordinating with regional agencies to adopt shared best practices are all key to our efforts. Public safety and crisis response has been a successful approach to reducing harm and connecting people to services. Using a balanced and accountable approach, Roseville's Social Services Unit implements a 4 Ps model. The 4 Ps are proactive, prevention, provision, and partnerships. Officers and clinicians engage individuals before incidents occur, building trust and identifying service needs early. For prevention, they intervene before challenges escalate by identifying signs of distress, addiction, or declining health. For provision, they connect individuals to stable housing options, treatment, and case management through coordinated partnerships. For partnerships, they collaborate with legal and community partners to assess individuals' circumstances, determine the most appropriate course of action, and identify solutions that balance individual needs with public safety. Reducing community impacts is important to protecting public health and safety while reducing the negative effects of homelessness on neighborhoods, parks, and open spaces. The city does this by monitoring encampments for health, safety, and environmental risks, allocating resources to support environmental cleanup efforts, tracking and assessing encampments to ensure consistent outreach and avoid displacement between jurisdictions. Last, securing reliable and diversified funding to support long-term homelessness response and prevention is critical to sustaining these efforts. We will continue to apply for competitive grants that support housing and homelessness initiatives, pursue gap financing to support affordable housing development, encourage philanthropic contributions from businesses and community groups, maintain city investment in key homelessness response programs, and maximize available and eligible funding opportunities to strengthen outcomes. The city participates in the Local Government Advisory Committee. This is part of the Homeless Resource Council of the Sierras, a regional body that includes Lincoln, Rockland, and Placer County. Through this partnership, the city works to align services, share data, and coordinate homelessness response across jurisdictional boundaries. LGAC, or LoJac, has coordinated a number of technical working groups to support collaborative approaches and efforts over the last few years, including discussions related to siting an emergency shelter.
Accordingly, the plan and resolution before you tonight establishes the city's position on a city-funded emergency shelter in Roseville. Based on the city's approach and analysis of local service outcomes and operational cost, we do not view traditional low-barrier emergency shelters as a cost-effective or sustainable solution. The financial and staffing burdens required to operate and maintain these facilities often outweigh their benefits, especially when more effective models such as transitional housing, permanent supportive housing, and many of the other approaches Rob just mentioned are available. Nonetheless, the city acknowledges emergency shelters may serve as a short-term bridge in very specific cases. Given these circumstances, Roseville's support for a shelter is contingent upon the fulfillment of the following criteria: a clearly demonstrated need, inclusion of comprehensive wraparound services, regional funding agreements as appropriate, and a robust operational standards. These considerations are consistent with citing criteria recommendations from the LJAC Technical Working Group discussions, and the city remains open to having these conversations in the future. The city invests substantially in addressing homelessness and housing stability. Last year, the city spent more than $25 million towards homelessness-related initiatives. This includes federal and state grants, local contributions, personnel costs, and operational support, covering and including voucher assistance, homeless prevention services, rapid rehousing, affordable and transitional housing development, environmental cleanup, and interdepartmental staffing. Since 2020, the Placer County Jury has published reports on the homeless population in Placer County. These reports have required the city to respond with information related to our overall efforts and spending on homelessness efforts. Since then, we have made it a practice to track and share this information in our annual budget document. This integrated approach reflects the city's ongoing commitment to a sustainable and coordinated response. Roseville continues to prioritize programs that deliver measurable results and lasting community impact, guided by compassion, accountability, and fiscal responsibility.
The city is committed to a consistent, transparent, and collaborative approach to addressing homelessness. While Melissa and I are presenting here today, it's important to recognize that this is truly a citywide effort. Our response to homelessness is made possible by the dedicated work of many departments, including the City Attorney's Office, Police Department, Fire Department, Parks, Recreation, and Libraries, IT, and the Housing Division, just to name a few. This is a multifaceted issue that requires ongoing collaboration, and we're grateful for the team effort that makes these programs and strategies possible. The city is focused on building public trust, maintaining a clear and consistent message, and tracking measurable progress. We use data to guide our decisions and continuously assess the effectiveness of our efforts, including service delivery, housing placements, and community impact mitigation. Aside from state and federal reporting requirements, we regularly share information through our communication channels, and earlier this year launched our homelessness dashboard on our open data portal. Roseville will continue to adjust our response to laws, funding shifts, and community needs. Overall, our commitment remains the same: to reduce homelessness through proactive care, strong partnerships, and long-term solutions that strengthen the health, safety, and vitality of our community.
Tonight, the recommendation before you is asking for adoption of a resolution approving the City of Roseville Homelessness Strategy and Response Plan and adopting a resolution affirming the City Council's commitment to a comprehensive and compassionate approach to homelessness. This concludes our presentation, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you both. Does the council have any questions of staff before we open it to public comment?
I have a couple. So again, I'm new on here. So is this the first time that the city has put forth such a comprehensive plan, a written plan?
If you looked back at some of our prior grand jury responses, we did have to come forward within our responses with the comprehensive overview and plan of what the city was doing to respond to homelessness and how much we spent. This is the first formal plan that we were asking council to approve and adopt.
Okay, and that I think probably answers the other question I had was how had this evolved? And so it's been in the making for a couple of years.
Yeah, I'll take the first attempt to answering this. Historically, the city has operated internally under a unsheltered strategies plan, which really is a working document for all the departments that Rob mentioned that work to prevent and address homelessness. And we thought, given kind of the pressures related to state and federal funding, a lot of the uncertainties and changes within legislation and what may be coming, that it now was a good time to kind of come forward and make that more of a public plan so that the city's in a position to respond accordingly.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, just one quick question. So thank you, the county and the city have some of the lowest rate of homelessness and been consistent with that. Monks, and you mentioned that the 260, I think that was the number, is lower than it was previously. When the point-in-time count happens and people are offered shelter, are there any numbers, are there any statistics or any information on how many of those accept shelter versus don't accept shelter?
They do collect that information. I don't have it with me tonight, but there is a high percentage of individuals that do not accept shelter when that point in time is taken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, as I mentioned before, we have a number of folks who would like to speak to public comment. We ask that you just limit your comment so that we can get through everyone. We'll devote 30 minutes. If your point has been made by someone else, we just ask that you either make another point or just understand that we have heard the first point that's made, just so we can avoid some redundancy. So the first card that I have is for Bonnie, and then Bonnie Gore, and then after Bonnie, if you want to just kind of be ready, I'll ask for Paul Kaminsky, and then Angel. And then, of course, you do not need to have a yellow card to speak. You can fill one out afterwards, but just signal that you would like to speak to this item. So we'll begin now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. I appreciate all the work the city is doing to address the homeless issue in our community. It is clear Roseville is using many tools to assist our residents. I am here to share why I've been speaking about homelessness and discussing potential need for additional shelter options for our unhoused community members. During the pandemic, it was clear there were more people on the streets in Placer County. As you all know, we convened an ad hoc homelessness task force to discuss issues, share data and best practices, and we came up with some recommendations. As I dove into the data, from my understanding, there was still a gap in services, meeting the needs of those on the streets who aren't able to be housed at the nomadic shelter for a variety of reasons. Having sat where you are sitting right now, it is important to me that the county and the city work together and collaborate on how we address the 190 unsheltered homeless residents in our city. I am not trying to force a 200-bed homeless shelter in the city. That has never been my intent. I'm asking the questions. What are the gaps? Are there next steps that need to be addressed? And how can we work together? That's why I'm grateful with the mayor's help. We've scheduled a meeting at the beginning of October for city staff and the police department to update me on the city's current practices to help those on the streets. I agree with the staff report that says Roseville supports the development of emergency shelters when there is a clearly demonstrated need, comprehensive wraparound services, regional funding agreements, and robust operational standards. I was surprised to see a statement in the resolution that declares that based on the data, an emergency shelter isn't expected to provide meaningful value beyond the city's current investments. That was the question I was looking to get answered. What does the data indicate? Where are the individuals going after they are cleared from the parks and trails? Because we all continue to see homeless people on our streets, in our creek beds, and behind buildings. And unfortunately, the city regularly spends a significant amount of money clearing and cleaning out encampments. I'd encourage the council to strike that statement from the resolution and take an opportunity to look at and discuss the data together. The county is willing to work together and collaborate, not only with the city, but with our local businesses, nonprofits, and faith organizations to address the needs of our community, focusing on compassion along with accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Paul, Angel. Good evening.
Good evening, council members. My name is Paul Comiskey. I would also like to talk simply about the need for a shelter. I have become very conversant and knowledgeable about the homeless community here in Roseville. I know them. I go to the Methodist lunch. I go to the Royer Park lunch on Sunday. I go to the Vincent de Paul. I represent many of them in court. And I would say that the number is much, much higher than 190. I call the point in time count a pointless in time count. They do it in the dead of winter so you can count the people in the shelters. Well, the people in the shelters are always full. You don't have a big problem trying to count them. They have the same number every day, no matter when it is. The gathering in is always full, and it always has a very long waiting list. I had a guy sleeping in my garage. I made him call the shelter, the gathering in every single day, called him for 18 days, and then he finally went back to sleeping in the dirt. And because I told him he had to either get in the gathering in or go back and sleep in the dirt. And that's what he did. So I really urge you to join with Ms. Gore and ask this group to check to reject that language about we don't need a shelter. I don't know what you lack for a clearly demonstrated need for a shelter. You just have to go around and ask anybody in this town, what's the biggest, most urgent problem that the city council ought to deal with? And they will tell you homelessness. I was here 2 meetings ago when the Archon group with all of the neighborhood groups was here, and the vice president was talking about how effective they are about talking about problems that they have in their neighborhood group. And the first thing he mentioned was homelessness. And I bet you can go to any one of those neighborhood groups and they will talk about homelessness. And the people who are living on our streets have been there for decades. I have a guy named James Allen Turney. He suffers from severe schizophrenia. He shows up at my door frequently. I have to talk to him and give him a ham sandwich and send him on his way. He lives like an animal. He doesn't even camp. He doesn't have a tent or a backpack. He just goes and sleeps wherever he can sleep. He's well known to the police. And I could name a whole bunch of other people just like him. But the county bought the hotel over there on Douglas Boulevard. I see people there who have been a police problem every single day that they were out on the streets, and they were out on the streets for years. And it's amazing what housing has done for them. I saw Cassandra Stanovic the other day in homeless court. She looked beautiful, very cleanly dressed, really nice hairdo and everything. And I told her, Cassandra, I'm so proud of you. I wish you would come and tell the city council what housing has done for you. And she said, Paul, I'm still struggling with mental illness. I can't come there yet, but I will come there. We need that shelter. I have an organization that's trying to advocate for homeless people in Roseville. I see some of the members here tonight. And we went and talked to every single member of the Board of Supervisors, and they told us that the single obstacle to getting a shelter built here is the Roseville City Council. And
Mr. Mincy, you're just about out of time. We want to make sure that we have time
all
for
right.
everyone, so
Okay,
please
very
wrap it
well.
up.
I'll just say one last thing. You mentioned getting business people involved. I sued the city of Roseville over your city housing policies. You got to pay me $40,000. You build a shelter and I'll give it back to you plus 10, okay? This is something that is very important to me, and we need this shelter. So please reject that language, get that shelter built. Thank you.
Okay, is Angel here?
Good evening, Mayor. I'm the Reverend Angel Rivero, pastor at First United Methodist Church of Roseville, our city's first church, established in 1882. For over 40 years, our church has opened its doors every Monday to share a warm meal with our community. Many folks who are living on the streets come, and many people who come are just an incident away from being on the streets. In partnership with area congregations, we also organized a nomadic shelter that eventually grew into what is now the Gathering Inn. I come tonight not just as a faith leader, but as someone who has shared meals, prayers, and stories with people who are living without shelter here in Roseville. The city's homelessness strategy reflects many values I deeply share: compassion, collaboration, and long-term thinking. Yet I am concerned about one sentence in the resolution that says the city does not support developing traditional emergency shelter. That line is troubling. It sends a message that emergency shelter has no meaningful role in our city, and that's not true. As shared earlier, the point in time says that 190 of our folks are living out unsheltered. That's nearly 3 out of 4 who are living outside, vulnerable to the elements, high-risk behavior, illness, and violence. When people sleep on the streets, they don't simply disappear. They end up in either police custody or emergency rooms, placing the cost of inaction on our already strained emergency services. ERs and holding cells become revolving doors for people who really need shelter and stability. I believe that we can do better. I fully support investments in prevention, permanent housing, and supportive services, but those long-term solutions are not accessible without shelter first. Shelter is not the end goal, it's the starting point. A safe place to sleep helps people move out of the survival mode into a mindset where healing, growth, and change are possible. Without that foundation, the pathway to housing and health and stability remains out of reach. By excluding emergency shelter from the strategy, we create a gap that makes it hard for people to take even the first step out of homelessness. In our ministry at First Church and through our partnership with the Gathering Inn and others, we've witnessed how shelter offers more than a place to sleep. It offers dignity, safety, and a doorway to healing, while also easing the burden on our overstretched public services. So I respectfully urge you to amend the resolution to remove the sentence dismissing emergency shelter. Let's keep all effective solutions on the table. This is more than policy, this is compassion, which is the first sentence of this plan. Thank you for your time and your commitment to all of our residents here in Roseville, including those who sleep on the streets tonight.
Thank you. Well, I'll call up Nancy and then David, and then if anyone else wants to speak that didn't complete a yellow card, I'll take those at the end. So Nancy, you're up.
My name is Nancy Schwagel. I'm a private citizen who wants to live in a world where everyone has enough to eat and everyone who wants a home has one. For many years, I've been a supporter of the Gathering Inn, food banks, and other programs that support those in need. Thank you to the council members and to our community people who support the homeless. Even though you may not hear from a lot of us in the community, there are many of us who support your work. Around Thanksgiving, there was a movie called No Address, shown in theaters in Roseville. It's a unique, positive drama about a group of individuals who are unexpectedly experiencing life on the streets. They bond together as an unconventional family. The movie explores the causes of homelessness and the difficulties of living without an address. I believe that anyone who watches it or reads this book will come away with a better understanding of and more empathy for the unhoused. The movie is available on Netflix and other sources online. It takes a supportive community to solve the problems of those living on the streets. In an effort to build this community, I'm encouraging my friends and all that I meet to watch the movie and read the book. Thank you.
Thank you. David, Leah, and then Stephen, and then I'm out of yellow card, so thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Schwegel with Vang Incorporated Consulting Engineers. I am a registered professional engineer in the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, and my profession focuses on the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare, and specifically traffic engineering focuses very heavily on providing housing solutions, especially those near transit stations. Get with the city of Elk Grove. Their population is higher, but their homelessness numbers are roughly half of yours. Present this to LA. As you know, LA has more unsheltered homeless than any other city in the nation. Portland, Oregon got it wrong. They threw $1 billion at the problem, and it grew a whole lot worse because that $1 billion went to lining the pockets of executives of nonprofit organizations. If you take the $1 billion and divide that by the total number of homeless in Oregon, Portland, you get $42,000. Why didn't they just instead go out into the streets and write checks for $42,000 and hand them to each of the homeless? Toronto and Vancouver, British Columbia got it right. They built robust shelters and disperse them throughout the cities. And in Vancouver, that's huge because Vancouver, BC is arguably the most beautiful and picturesque city in the continent. City of Roseville, you have tremendous publicity. You are the most desirable city to live in the state of California, as mentioned before. When I was with the Institute of Transportation Engineers, when there was a technical tour of the City of Roseville Traffic Operations Center, we had traffic engineers from the Bay Area and the Silicon Valley come up here to see the extraordinary technology right here in the City of Roseville. You have your own phone company, you have your own utilities, but City of Roseville, with that sort of publicity comes great responsibility. I challenge you with this. Be a model for addressing homelessness for the rest of the nation to follow. Oh, and by the way, it was great to see Greg Bitter tonight because back in 2016, I arranged for him and his colleagues to speak at the American Society of Civil Engineers California Infrastructure Symposium in 2016. I was a resident of Granite Bay at the time, and I wanted to make sure that we got Roseville on the agenda, and we did. 3 speakers. So Roseville, on the one hand, yes, keep up the great work, keep doing what you're doing, but on the other hand, really kick this strategy into high gear. I support it, but make sure that you tout yourselves as a model for addressing homelessness that the rest of the state of California can follow. Because as we know, 1 out of 3 of the homeless in the nation live in California. Thank you.
Thank you. Leah, then Stephen.
Hello, my name is Stephen Aleshi. I'm a homeless man and also a believer in Jesus Christ. Real quick, I know we don't have much time. Me and my wife are number 18 and 19 on the list for the gathering, and we've been on the list for 2 months. It's obviously not big enough. Also, there's a whole group of homeless people who would never go into the gathering or a program, but they would go into emergency shelter like a tent city. There's several locations it could be. Berry Street has 2 locations I think would be good, surrounded by Connex boxes, storage units, and a cement company. I found a couple other places, and lastly, if you guys build an emergency shelter, since I can't get a job, I'll come work for you guys for free. Yeah.
For your comment. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this item? No. Just so that we're efficient, if you just kind of want to line up, and we've got maybe 10 or so minutes left, so we just ask that you be, respectful of everyone's time, because so we have everyone speak.
Hi, my name is Bree. I was born in Roseville in 1986. My family arrived here about 1911 or so. I come from the Aguilar side, and we've had the orange orchard and orchards in Rockland and throughout for a long time. I've noticed in Roseville that I look around and I see some young people in the community in here, and a lot of young people have dreams and goals and ambitions and would like to make something of themselves. And things happen in life where people can't always do that. And I see so many people in here that I wouldn't ever want one of these young people to be on the street or to lose their goals or ambitions and their dreams, because, life is fun, and it doesn't always have to be, people might not have somebody to go back home to after they're done with high school or something like that, and their parents might not care or anything like that. And I think about that when I see people on the street of Roseville, that there wasn't always so many homeless people, and all of a sudden there was one day. And some people might have a little dog or something that protects them or something at night or something. And I just think that, if one person has one out of 5 people, then, let that person in, or something maybe different that could be open or something. I just wouldn't want anything bad to happen. But so I seen this girl real quick, and then I'll stop. I went into this gas station the other day, and this girl tried to warm up her food. And these 2 ladies that was working behind the counter here in Roseville told her she could not warm up her food. And I kind of screamed at them. And, you never know who somebody is. And right here, I'm holding a $125,000, a mandatory endorsement, just through my insurance alone. And so you never know who people are. Don't judge others. And, everybody has a hard life sometimes. And especially for the young community, I think it would be good to maybe not a tent city or anything like that, but maybe somewhere, a sheltered place, another hotel or something. But that's all. Thank you for letting me
Your
speak.
comment. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Beth Gonzalez. I'm co-executive director, fully volunteer of Placer People of Faith Together. And we work with the Gathering Inn, and we work with the Board of Supervisors. We've worked directly with Supervisor Gore and the other supervisors to see how we could get the city of Roseville to build a shelter. So the shelter I don't know if you visited the mobile temporary shelter in Auburn, but they have space for 50 people, and they have 44 people on a waiting list to find housing because they have recuperated their well-being and they are ready to be housed, and there is no housing for them. So the temporary shelter that is successfully run by the Gathering Inn and the County of Placer, there is a monthly meeting with the probation department, the Gathering Inn, Placer People of Faith Together, other citizens, to be a watchdog committee and to kind of keep an eye on what's going on and who needs help or how we could help. So there are monthly reports. So I will send you the latest monthly report to explain to you how successful a temporary shelter is. So I encourage you to delete that phrase from this document. That's not a factual statement that is workable to help with the homeless. What are they going to do? It's just going to be the same thing, same old, same old. So I hope that you will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, dear members of the City Council. My name is Sergey Terepkov. I'm a longtime Roseville resident. I'm also elected to County Board of Education. However, tonight I'm here on behalf, just as a private resident. And I'm actually here to speak in support of the resolution because it really helps to preserve community spaces, trails, parks, and public areas where families are walking, biking, and gathering. The city homeless strategy ensures these places remain safe, well-maintained, and accessible for everyone by combining outreach with encampment, cleanup, and coordinated responses. We can do that without really building a shelter. Shelters are viewed as a magnet, unfortunately, that attracts more unhoused individuals from outside of the area. Where I do encourage and support current city effort in alternative programs and alternative solutions. Then also, this current resolution is really prevents and protecting neighborhoods. The best way to avoid homelessness is to prevent it. Roseville does that by offering vouchers and low and very low income housing, social services, workers who coordinate with our police department and various service providers to offer various services for the homeless population. Again, it also addresses community concerns, and I know that residents have concerns about safety issues and decline in property values, potentially, as well as potential increase loitering and crime near shelter. So in my opinion, a shelter is not a good solution at this time, and I commend the City Council for taking action and support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Sam Buckles. I was featured in the documentary Americans with No Address by Robert Craig. I'm here to support a navigation center. I have a personal experience as to why something like this is so vital to helping people experiencing homelessness. I found myself homeless after my home had burned to the ground, followed by COVID-19. At the time, I had thought it would be for a very short time. It would be 6 years till I was able to end that nightmare. Things became so hopeless and the resources so spread out that it became such a huge task to put together any workable solution. The last 2 years became impossible because after starting the process and sweeps would move me from places where service workers knew to find me. Getting ID, social security card, medical card did not exist. The sense of hopelessness became so great that at one point I tried to use fentanyl to end my suffering, only to become another problem that I did not have the resources for. I was fortunate that I was introduced to the Sacramento Environmental Justice Coalition, who I asked for help, and was able to get into detox. I was able to accomplish right now I'm at 2.5 years clean. I was very fortunate to meet the right people at the right time who helped me to take each step and now being in permanent supportive housing. I had health issues as well, which made it worse by the environment that I had to survive in. Being able to have services to interact with and the ability to meet with is the only way to ever escape homelessness. I still know many good people that are still stuck out there. Every day, something else gets added to the road ahead of them. I pray something like the Navigation Center can help make it possible to succeed. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Herman Barahona. I'm with the Sacramento Environmental Justice Coalition. We're partners with Placer People of Faith Together, Latino Leadership Council, TGI. We're here to support, to change the language, to include the idea of a very creative way to build a shelter. We got involved in this work, in this regional effort, because we have seen extreme climate, kill people on the streets because of extreme heat, floods, weather situations where if somebody's not allowed to go into a shelter, they will die. The morgue in every county here in this region has told us how many people have died on the streets just because they did not have access to shelter. So this is a very important issue to us. We are very supportive of the idea of combining efforts with nonprofit organizations. It doesn't have to be run by the city, but we need your support. Because in this pipeline of homelessness, and this is something you've seen before, Placer County has 75,000 people who are Medi-Cal. They're earning less than $2,000 a month. That's your pipeline to homelessness. Any health crisis, any family issues, somebody will end up on the street. You have a pipeline that's coming your way. So you have to figure out a way to build a mechanism to sustain these families when they face a crisis. Roseville alone has 5,500 people who are earning less than $2,000 a month. And I'm sure everybody here knows how high the rent is. So if you don't have a plan to create shelter, some sort of transition to permanent supportive housing, and to address all these social issues that are involved in it, then you're gonna always be addressing this issue of an endless pipeline to homelessness. So shelter and looking at those numbers rather than the point-in-time count, because the point-in-time count doesn't have any credibility. Look at your Medi-Cal records. Look at your food stamp records. You will see the number of people who are living with less than $2,000 a month, and if they have a divorce, a chronic health issue, they will face homelessness. So shelter is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. On behalf of the Roseville Area Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank you for your leadership and your commitment to addressing one of the most pressing challenges facing our community, homelessness. Our business community understands the economic vitality depending on the stability and well-being of all who live and work here. The Chamber supports a comprehensive approach that not only prioritizes safe and vibrant public spaces, but also recognizes the need for housing, wraparound services, workforce training, and coordinated regional strategies. We applaud the city's focus on rapid rehousing, family stability, and cross-sector collaboration. These are essential to helping people return to work, support their families, and re-engage in the community. Outcomes that benefit the entire region, including our local economy. We also recognize that no single entity can solve this challenge alone. The Chamber supports your efforts to build strong partnerships with county agencies, nonprofits, healthcare providers, and business leaders to ensure resources are deployed effectively and sustainably. As a Chamber, we are committed to being a partner in this work. We look forward to collaborating with you to strengthen Roseville's economy while supporting solutions that create opportunity, dignity, and long-term stability for all the residents. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Father Cliff Hagen-Jose, I'll be brief. Just a couple of things that I'd like to throw out there for you to consider. One is the fact that in reality, we already have a shelter with the Gathering Inn. It's just that shelter moves every night that way. And we are able to serve 65 to 70 people who are in a homeless situation. What I would encourage you to be thinking about is not looking at that as an emergency shelter where nothing happens, but rather shelter opportunities provide the opportunity. It's sort of like a first step to get people into the process of eventually getting to sustainable housing. And the Gathering Inn plays a big role in all of that. The second thing I'd like you to consider, and it kind of ties into the remarks I made the first time I was up here. Yes, there's a consortium of churches that come together to help and support every night. Unfortunately, it's not the most efficient way of doing things. You know, every day, the guests of the Gathering Inn spend probably 2 hours getting ready, queuing up, getting ready to be taken to whatever the location is for that night. And then the next morning, they spend another couple of hours getting up, cleaning the church that they're at, and then being transported back. That's 4 hours a day that is taken up with those kinds of living arrangements. It's not the most efficient way of doing things. We look forward to continuing the discussion. We look forward to working with Supervisor Gore as well as all of you to come up with creative opportunities to continue to help those of us who are our residents who are in the homeless situation. They are citizens of the city, and helping them to move into sustainable housing. It's going to take a collaborative effort by everyone. I'm happy to see what the criteria that you've put out there. I would encourage you to maybe revise or take out that one sentence, because, like I said, there already is a shelter here. It just moves around night to night to night. Thank you.
Thank you. We are closing in on time. Does anyone want to make any brief comments, or did we catch everybody? We're good? Okay. I'll close public comment, bring it back to the council for deliberation. Any thoughts to start us off? Okay, I have a few thoughts. I typically go last, but I'm happy to share some thoughts. A few things. First off, I want to thank everyone for taking the time tonight to make some comments. It's important to note that a couple years back, for 2 years, council member, maybe you were mayor at the time, Haldeshout and I spent time on the homeless task force, which was a county collaboration that included probation, law enforcement, public safety, service providers, elected officials. We studied this issue in depth. The recommendation that came out of that was not to build a traditional shelter. That was not the answer. If shelters, I would say overall, if they were the solution, we would not see homelessness in our country nationally. And I would say the data simply doesn't not support that approach. We've heard from staff that, and I've been on the point in time count as well, when offered services, many of them decline. It's important to note that it's not illegal to be homeless. We don't want for people to be without homes, but realistically speaking, there are some people who decline services over and over, and that is why we have our social services built into our police department, so they can make contact repeatedly to build that trust to hopefully get them to the point where they will accept services. We heard this evening everything that the city is doing, a really comprehensive strategy that we've built that has to do with prevention programs, rapid rehousing. We keep thousands in their homes every night because of our voucher program. I believe Roseville has the tools to address the prevention side of it, and we have been noted as a model in our state for how we deal with homelessness. I think it's also important to note that cities don't receive social services funding. Those funds go to the county, just as we lean on the county for support when it comes to our coroner, our jail, our voters, treasurer, tax collector, all of that. I think policy change and coordination are more effective than pouring resources into a building. We've just heard tonight everything that our city does to try to help those that are on the street, which in our city, with our population of 160,000 or so, we're talking about 0.16%, although it is important to our residents. We all want to be able to feel safe. I feel like this resolution reflects our values, our compassion for those that are in crisis, our accountability for progress. It's important to note places like Sunrose, it's on the corner of Sunrise and Douglas. The people pay a portion of their income to be able to live there, and that is what becomes successful, is that they have a little bit of skin in the game. They accept services, and those types of housing, those permanent supportive housing, typically are not problematic for our city. I believe that this resolution affirms that Roseville will continue to lead with compassion and accountability. We invest in solutions that truly work. I am supportive of it, and I believe it'll help our unhoused residents, our families, and the future of our community. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments?
Yeah, Mayor, that's well stated. And I'm going to pick up on one word, and that's the word progress. So progress moves at the rate of trust. And as we heard through those couple of years, and I appreciate Supervisor Gore convening the cities and the county and all those resources, and as I personally have seen when I've gone on ride-alongs with our social services on our homeless task force, that trust takes a while to build. As I said, and the reason why I asked the question about those who, will take a bed versus the concrete is because I've seen that where people, when I was out with our social services officer and they offered a bed, I said, no, I'm good here under the Highway 65 bridge, because all the jobs are up there. So building that trust, and I kudos to the Gathering Inn, because I think you have a lived experience navigator that helps build that trust. I've been at St. John's with various groups serving food. So as I mentioned earlier, my desire not to give $3,000 to the gala because we give in so many other ways as council members in our daily lives to support, to support a variety of things, but, we give with our hearts to address the homelessness issue. This is a resolution. This is not an ordinance. This, I don't read this as a prohibition forever for a shelter. I said, it says, as I read this paragraph, does not support the development of a traditional emergency shelter within the city of Roseville based on local data and not expected to provide meaningful added value beyond the current city's investment, which has been laid out very comprehensive. And the mobile temporary shelter, and thank you, I forget who brought it up. I've seen those updates. I haven't stayed current with them, but the 44 folks that are there, I don't know the statistics on how long they've been there, the length of time. People get settled in their lifestyle. And I know that our housing director has had challenges moving folks from our housing, Trish Isom has had challenges moving people into transitional housing and then permanent supportive housing because we get comfortable in where we are. And so do not take my support for this resolution as a lack of compassion for those who are on the street. Would love to move, love for them to sleep on a pillow every night, to have that sense of self-worth that we each have each and every day. So I'm supportive of this resolution as it's written.
I have some comments and then a clarification. So piggybacking on what Councilmember Haverschelt said. So this is a resolution, not a law. But I want to go back to that last part that seems to be what everybody is focusing on here. And I'm sure all of us got calls and emails this week on this resolution. This is not we're never going to. We're just simply saying that according to the third to last slide that was on your presentation, it's not relevant now, or we don't see it necessary. And if it ever did become, it would have to meet those 5 bullet points that you provided on that presentation. Is that correct?
That is correct. What this resolution is saying is it's not that the city is not in favor of an emergency shelter. It is not supportive of a city-funded, built emergency shelter.
Okay.
If a shelter was proposed by the county or a nonprofit, the city would need to go through the channels of approving it. If it was a by right, we would need to approve it. But nonetheless, we would want to be in those conversations and ask for the considerations outlined in the plan.
That's the clarification I wanted, because a lot of people seem to think this is we're closing the door and we're not open to future discussion, which piggybacks onto my comment. This council and prior councils, we are always complimentary of prior councils, and we've done it on other items not related to homelessness, about how they have provided good leadership and forward thinking oftentimes in planning and specific plans, not necessarily in this particular realm. But my issue here was, and why I wanted to clarify it is, I would never want to handcuff future councils. I would not want, I don't have a crystal ball, none of us do. I would not want to be up here dictating 10, 20, how many years down the road we can't predict. And so I just wanted to make it clear that though it's worded this way, there is the spirit of the document and then there is the actual written document. They're two different things. This is actually outlining and codifying a response plan. This is, and you laid it out very well. But I want to make sure that we are clear that we are not trying to in any way dictate, advance, put on to future councils. We will never, ever, something like that. This is just what we're reflecting now. This is what we believe is a response to what we're seeing now based upon what we're doing. Mayor Bernasconi outlined it very well. The city has all these things in place. I mean, we hear from Trish Isom on a quarterly basis about what she's doing as far as the voucher program and things like that. But I just wanted to be clear to the people in the audience and the people at home that it is strong worded language, but it's not, we're not saying, this council is not saying here and now that there will never be. We're saying that if it was to come to fruition and if it was a nonprofit versus whatever, it outlines what we're willing to do or not willing to do and what we believe that would look like.
It further solidifies, I think, based on our city's access to resources and funding, where we want to prioritize our efforts, the efforts and approaches we find are the most effective, and that is outlined in the document.
Thank you, Melissa.
Any other comment from the
Yeah, I'll
council?
go to I'll follow Tracy. I feel the same way Tracy does. I think the document talks about all the things that we do, and their comment about having a shelter is not having a shelter now, but that doesn't mean if things look different, like I say never about anything, because you never know, but or what it looks like, or what what is a real need in something like that. But I'm comfortable with this, with the other words in the resolution that talks about financing if we had it, and I shouldn't just even say, okay, if we had the money, we'd build a shelter. No, we wouldn't build a shelter unless it makes sense. Period. Does it help our community, and can it be supportable? And how can we how can we make it go? It's kind of like the Sunrose Apartments. I think working together to help create that, it was a really good feature in how it was changed, and that we actually help finance and put money in it too. So they're looking at very different ways of how we can help people, and other things we've been doing forever. But when you're talking about, it's cold or it's bad outside, it's true. But we have warming and cooling centers, and we are always looking at the pulse of what's happening with people. And I've been out on the ride-alongs with our social services and our police officers, and visiting people that are on the streets. And one of the things, looking to be in a shelter, they didn't want to be in a shelter. They're afraid of the shelter. They're afraid they're going to get robbed in a shelter. I can't bring my dog in a shelter. And they don't like to be close to people. So. And I did see the movie, No Address, and it was good. It was good. It wakes you up, but it wakes you up to look at what are all the things that we're doing. How do we help people? How do we see what's going on? And I think one thing about Roseville, we're innovative. We're always looking for different ways how we can do things. And if there's a better way, and we haven't found it yet, or make it, we'll look for it. And be good. But I think because I read our resolution here lots of times just to make sure I felt that if we saw that there was a need and we can work together as a team for the finances, and also if it makes logical sense. I mean, I know other areas like the tent city works for them. I don't think that really works for us, or at least I don't feel that that's the best way to go. But if it works in another area, I'm happy for them. I'm just looking for ways that it works good for our Roseville residents.
Thank you for your comments.
Comments. I have a lot going on in my head right now, and I'm trying to think about how to make it concise, because I want to thank the city staff. So I appreciate the detail that went into the strategic plan, and having lived in Roseville for over 30 years and run a business in the downtown, I fully understand from different lens some of the challenges, that we all face in trying to create a quality of life and to have a humane approach for folks that are unhoused. And to be honest, the language that you used in the presentation felt more comfortable to me than that one bullet that it seems like from public comment tripped me up when I read it, and it took me some time to settle in and feel comfortable with what we were actually saying. And when I sit here and I listen to all of how we even describe what that means, I feel like we're describing it in different ways. So I can only say, from my perspective, this is an issue. I have over 3 decades as a social worker and in child welfare and social services. So this is a topic that I have a lot of compassion and some maybe different kinds of perspective and understanding about. And I think it's unfortunate that we're talking and debating about the merits of a shelter. Because to me, when I look at this plan, what I see is a city that has invested in a lot of services that are going to help prevent chronic homelessness. And as a city, I think that's where the city, now I'm putting on, I'm taking off my social work and my business lens, but putting on the city council lens. And this is a new kind of responsibility and obligation to think about how we use our city resources, which are limited, as are our county resources. We have different stakeholders. We've heard from some in the group tonight. We have providers. I talked to a lot of providers this last week to get the lens of people who are actually providing these transitional services and these shelter services. And I feel like that kind of informed and helped me get more comfortable with the language that I think has made a lot of folks in this room and maybe others that aren't here uncomfortable. I don't see this as about whether or not there should be a shelter now or at some point in the city of Roseville. And I feel very concerned about the people that are falling out of the current safety net, because there are some of those. And that is the chronically homeless. And whether or not they would go to a shelter or not, some will, some won't. I watched no address, and I think it should be something every single elected official watches. It gave me, even with that depth of experience, different perspective and compassion on the issue. I just want to state I am comfortable with the resolution. I think that our city, some of the things that strike me in there I think are responsible ways to spend city dollars is looking at housing. I think our city has a long track record of investing in affordable housing, and affordable housing is one very important prevention for homelessness. I appreciate that our city has stepped up in some ways that a lot of cities don't with our social services unit and within our PD, having social workers. We just added another social work position this last year. For those, and I heard a story recently from that our social workers are out there and they have the ability to do outreach, to pay attention to the needs, to get to know the homeless, the unhoused, and what their issues are. And sometimes it may take like 6 touch points with that same person that is chronically homeless to get them to accept a referral for services. So the way I see it is that we all have different roles and responsibilities. I have no issue myself personally recognizing that there are gaps in our plan, but I also recognize that we are a city and we're one player and we're a partner in the total solution. Having worked in health and human services, I think it goes back to what you said, Krista. Health and Human Services, the county, that is a responsibility of the county. It's our job as a city, I think, to be good partners. And it's our job to support our nonprofit providers and the church faith-based community that's stepping up. And I think we've stepped up in a lot of big ways. And could we do more? Probably. And I don't think that this resolution is saying that we're not willing to do that. I think what it's saying is that we are being very clear. And I think that's our role also, is to be very clear and transparent with public dollars and where we have strategically invested them. And this is a very clear plan, and it helps us focus, and it helps us hold ourselves accountable for the plan. So for me, I do plan to move forward. I would have been fine, I think, modifying the language. I don't hear that I think I would be the only one. I heard that in the audience. I'm okay moving forward because we're not setting it into policy, and I don't see that this is saying that we're saying no shelter or other kinds of solutions that might look like a type of shelter in the city, or that we wouldn't support, partnership around that. We're just saying that that's not where we're putting our city dollars right now. And if you look at prevention or intervention, both are important, and we're investing in prevention, and I'm good with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
I think we
we've
have to
heard
go
from
back
everyone. Do we want to start with the motion?
Sure. The motion is to adopt resolution number 25-297, adopting the City of Roseville Homelessness Strategy and Response Plan, and affirming the City Council's commitment to a comprehensive and compassionate approach to homelessness. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Vice Mayor Albert?
Yes.
Councilmember Haddashelt?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendonça?
Yes.
And Mayor Bernasconi?
Yes. Thank you, thank you. I know a number of you are here for that item. We have more business to get through, so if you're here just for that item, we just ask that you exit quietly and we will continue with our meeting. The next item is item 19, a Community Development Block Grant 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. It's a public hearing.
Very nice comments.
We'll open up the public hearing and invite staff to make the presentation. Students, I think you have to stay for your papers to
signed
get
up.
signed, or it doesn't count, you're gonna have to come back. So, we're just about towards the end, though, so. Okay, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Tricia Isom with the Economic Development Department, Housing Manager, and tonight I'm here with a short presentation from Michelle Worster. She is our new housing analyst in the Housing Division, and she'll be giving you the presentation tonight.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi and council members. My name is Michelle Worster, and I'm a housing analyst in the city's Economic Development Department. Tonight, we're holding a public hearing to present the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER. This annual report highlights the achievements of the City of Roseville's Community Development Block Grant Program over the past year. In the 2024 program year, the city was awarded $707,089 in Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Since the city became an entitlement jurisdiction in 1986, CDBG funds have provided over $20 million to the community. For nearly 40 years, these funds have supported lower-income households in Roseville by providing housing rehabilitation, public services, affordable housing opportunities, and homeless shelter and prevention programs. In 2024, CDBG funds provided grants to 7 community-based organizations who assisted 1,552 individuals. These public service programs included the provision of case management and mental health services, hot meal and grocery delivery, homeless prevention and rapid rehousing services, support services, and shelter. These programs served a variety of Roseville residents, including families, seniors, and disabled individuals, veterans, homeless, and those at risk of homelessness, all with approximately $117,000. Additionally, the owner-occupied housing rehabilitation program assisted 4 low-income households with housing rehabilitation through a combination of grants and loans. Those served include 3 senior female head of households and 1 permanently disabled senior. One of these projects also included extensive lead-based paint hazard abatement. This program supports lower-income residents while also enhancing the city's housing stock and strengthening the long-term sustainability of its neighborhoods. Staff would also like to provide an update on 2 CDBG projects that are currently in progress. As council is aware, Johnson Pool recently celebrated its grand reopening to the public this summer, thanks to the extensive work of the Parks Department and made possible in part through $280,000 of CDBG funding. CDBG funds have assisted with making necessary improvements to the interior of the existing pool house to meet ADA and code compliance. The project is in its final stages with an anticipated completion this fall. The city also recently announced the availability of $700,000 in CDBG funds to be awarded to qualified nonprofit affordable housing developers or project sponsors. Funding available under this NOFA is intended to support the acquisition of property for the future development of affordable rental housing in the city of Roseville. The housing may serve as either permanent or transitional housing for low and moderate income households. And to conclude my presentation, staff requests that council receive public comment on this item and recommends that council adopt a resolution approving the 2024 program year CAPER and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents and certifications on behalf of the city of Roseville for submittal to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And that concludes my presentation for this evening. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Michelle, and congratulations on your first presentation to us. Wonderful. Okay. Does the council have any questions of staff before we open it up to public comment? No. We're all good? Okay. Does anyone like to comment on this item? Now would be your time. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I'll close the public hearing. Unless the council has anything further, we will hear a motion.
I would just point out that a number of these activities under the CDBG block grant are on point to our comprehensive approach to serving the community and homelessness and providing shelter. So, thank you.
Yes, noted. Thank you.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Do we need to read it?
Let's read it first.
Yeah. The motion to consider is adopting resolution number 25-300, approving the 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to submit the Community Development Block Grant 2024 CAPER to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
We had a motion and a second. Is that right?
That's what I heard, yes.
Okay.
So Vice Mayor Alvord?
Yes.
Councilmember Haddishelt?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendonça?
Yes.
Mayor Bernasconi?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. You guys have sat through it very patiently. We will take one last public comment for any item that's not on the agenda. Now would be your time to come forward. Any extra credit for asking a question from a student? No takers? Okay. We'll close public comment. We'll bring it back to staff for any final thoughts from our city attorney or our city manager.
Nothing, thank you.
No further reports, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council members, any final thoughts before we depart?
I'll pass, Mayor.
Okay, anyone? We're all good?
Yep, we're done.
We're all good. We're all good, Bruce.
Yes, we're done.
Good, they're good.
We're good.
No, I mean,
We're good.
anything burning, we're good?
We're good.
Okay.
Tell our words.
With that, our next,
Movie.
Bruce, did you want to say anything? I don't want to cut you off if you want to say something.
No. Vice Mayor Alvord just said we've used all our words.
Okay, she kicked you under, I got it, okay. I'm looking at my calendar here, and are we on for October 1st? So with that, I will adjourn our meeting. We'll be back here October 1st. Students, if you want to come back again, you've had a great time. We're here. So I'll adjourn the meeting. I think you have papers to sign, so any of us can sign your papers, and then you're free to go. Thank you.
And the opportunity to see it in action.
How are you?